Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, hey, it's another PHN live chat. Hola, I am your guide through this entirely insane universe, Dan Kingerski. How are you? A couple house cleaning notes before we get into the live chat, on which we will talk about today. We'll go over the Penguins injury updates. There we go. We'll mute that too. We'll go over the Penguins injury updates, some tactical things I want to go over, what the Penguins are doing, what opponents are trying to do to the Penguins. Vegas really sold out on Tuesday night. They just, like they are want to do, sent the house against the Penguins. The Penguins had a bit of a strategy. However, they really didn't execute it except for a few moments. But when those few moments wind up in the net, you can get away with it. There were also some very big things. We'll, of course, talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins goalie situation. I don't want to call it a controversy because for a few reasons. One, the Penguins aren't considering it a competition, at least publicly. You have all decided which way you're going, right or left, Jarry, Murray, or Murray, Jarry. You've all kind of decided which way you're going on that. But your opinion and the Penguins' opinion have been about 180 degrees different until I think in the last week, maybe. I think there is starting to be a softening. We'll talk about that. And, of course, what came for everyone sees, trade targets. We're going to go over the Penguins' potential trade targets they can look at. I know I can hear the names coming right now. Athanasiou, Chris Kreider. We'll dive into all of them. I promise. Of course, do me a favor, like and share this little live chat. Also, hop on the chat board, please. These chats on YouTube will be going away here in the near future. We're going to move them to Facebook and move them to the PHN Plus members area coming up probably in February. I'll give you a little bit of a notice before we do that. I'm not just going to spring it on you one week. But if you haven't yet done so, do me a favor. I'm going to pop the link right here. What is my Facebook link? I haven't typed in my Facebook link in so long. I'm not sure what it is. So I'm going to cut and paste the link to our Facebook page. If I know some of you said you don't do Facebook, if nothing else, just create a dummy account and like us. That's all you have to do, right? Let me cut and paste. And I'm going to put this right here in the YouTube live chat. All right. There we go. Also, if you're so inclined, join the PHN Plus. I'm going to be doing some member-only chats as well. Just because I like doing these, they kind of scratch my radio itch. Heck, I only did radio for 20-plus years. It's nice to sit here in my little radio studio, but monetarily, YouTube doesn't pay as well as we thought they were going to a year ago when we started these crazy little things. So let me move this out here a little bit so I can see it. Where do you want to start? No, let's not start with John Marino. All right, let's start with this guy, Tristan Jarry. And I wrote a little something this morning. I've been taking a lot of you on a slow walk, and I don't think folks realize it. I was accused earlier in the week, you're just stirring up controversy, or you're doing this just for clicks or readers. And the reality is, I've known the situation since the preseason. I've known the situations the Penguins found themselves in. I've known what each goaltender was told. I've known what the Penguins thought. I've been all over this. Okay? The surprise has been how forcefully Tristan Jarry has claimed his NHL spot. No one saw this coming. Oh, I always liked Tristan Jarry. Yes. No one saw this coming. Okay? Does he still lead the NHL in save percentage? I would imagine last night it maybe took a little bit of a tick down. The same with his goals against average, probably went a tick up closer to 2. I haven't checked, and I don't think it's entirely relevant to the conversation if he's 1 or 2 in either category. The point is, and I see the chats coming in, hey guys, man, some of the names you come up with. What was I saying? The point is, we've asked, I've poked, I've prodded. Mike Sullivan hasn't given an inch at this point in the season. It's not yet an open goalie competition. And what that means, okay, I've tried to write this a dozen different ways. What it means for the Pittsburgh Penguins, let me find my name here. There we go. What it means is, this is, Jarry is essentially renting the net with his play. That's what Mike Sullivan has been telling Jarry unofficially, through his words and actions, that he's renting the net with his play. And I think opposite, what's the word I'm looking for? You'll have to forgive me. These West Coast games just burn a hole right through my brain. Conversely, what Sullivan has been, unofficially, through unspoken communication, saying to Murray is, let's go. The net is yours, but you have to take it. And so that is why Mike Sullivan has not declared an open competition. That's why I love when Sullivan wants to use some force on a question. And the last homestand, I had to go there, right? And he leans into the podium. No. It makes me happy in a certain way that, he's being demonstrative. I'll take an answer, right? The worst answer you can get is, well, we have a couple goalies and we're going to do... No. I can appreciate that. That gives me, one direction to go. It gives me something to work on. What Jarry has to prove, he has to kind of win the hearts and win the mind of Mike Sullivan. He has to make Sullivan trust him in big situations. Not just a hot hand, but a guy that Sullivan can put in the net in, on April 20th in Game 4, down 2-1 or up 2-1. He needs to inspire and earn that level of confidence and that level of trust with the Penguins coaches. Jarry hasn't yet done that to this point, because his play in the minors was maybe a bit erratic as a player. Perhaps he didn't take some things seriously, such as practice, which is a cardinal sin in Mike Sullivan's universe. And so Jarry is having to earn that layer of trust that maybe Matt Murray got intrinsically, because Matt Murray is that kind of stoic, steely, sometimes surly sort of guy that Sullivan knows. Sullivan knew 4 years ago, in 2016, that he could put Matt Murray in a big situation and it wouldn't rattle him. He wouldn't get scrambly. Sullivan just trusted that because of Matt Murray. Jarry is earning that. And just maybe I read too much into things, okay? I try to judge tone. I try to judge words. Sullivan is always so careful with his linguistics, his verbiage, how he says things, and to whom he says things, that when he says something, off the cuff last night, unsolicited, Tristan did a terrific job in net for us. I think Jarry is beginning to melt that block of ice. Because if it were up to Sullivan and there were no salary cap issues, Casey DeSmith would have been the backup goalie this year. Make no mistake about that. DeSmith was, when we asked Sullivan, after DeSmith was sent down, hey, what about Jarry? And he went into the economics of the game and why DeSmith was sent down. Well, that just, that confirmed everything that I had been hearing and all the whispers and such. That indeed, that the Penguins, Jarry had to earn things. And he's doing it. I mean, my gosh. I wrote about today that wraparound play with Alex Touch. I don't know why I thought it was Jonathan Marchessault. I'm so sorry. That was such a boneheaded move. That's what happens when you write at 3 a.m., Eastern time. That happens. I wish I had caught that this morning when I hit publish on it. I didn't. I apologize for the error. But as the wraparound attempt came, how Jarry played that, how he was tight to the post with his paddle to block the wraparound, and then got big quickly to stop the point-blank wrist shot when the forward realized that the wraparound wasn't there. Those are the things. Tristan Jarry, in that final 5-minute absolute onslaught by Vegas, didn't overcommit. He was a little bit scrambly, but he was still largely within himself, which was another improvement in his game. And so we're seeing this, and Sullivan is seeing this. And I don't yet think I can tell you that Jarry is the guy. But after last night, Jarry took another step forward in being the guy. I go back to 2017-18 when Washington put Philip Grubauer in the net. Grubauer, if you remember, displaced Holtby. Holtby was stumbling and struggling, and they kept giving him chances, and Barry Trotz never quite named Grubauer the guy. Grubauer stumbled in the playoffs for a game and a half, maybe all 3 games, to start that series against, was it Toronto? In round 1 that they had. And he was gone. Boof. In came Holtby. Capitals go on to win the cup. Jarry still has a bit of a very short leash, much the same way that Grubauer, who's now starting in Colorado, by the way, much the same way that Grubauer did in Washington. All right, so that's a 10-minute monologue and soliloquy from me. Let's check the chat board here. Is 18 still spider bitten? Logan asks. Logan, I must confess, when I first saw your question, I thought it was like porn spam. I told you, these late night games burn a hole through my brain. I don't know that Alex Galchenyuk is spider bitten, snake bitten. I just don't. I don't see him getting good looks. I don't see him getting the puck in the scoring areas. I don't see him barging in to those things he has to do, kind of elbowing his way into open ice to rip that shot. I just don't see it. What I see with Galchenyuk now is the guy I saw in the first half of the season in Arizona last year. I did the film review. I had about 700 or 800 words, just scathing on Galchenyuk after the Penguins acquired him. I went back and did the video review. I think I've told this story before. It was so just, I almost found myself being mean-spirited because he was very much this unproductive with Arizona last season. Then he caught fire. So I watched those games, really that 2-month period when he was absolutely on fire, and I saw a different player. I haven't yet seen that different player. I see Galchenyuk in the shadows. I see Galchenyuk really wanting to help, but not entirely doing all of the things during game situations that he needs to do to be successful. He needs to barge to the net, or he needs to find a way to get open in the slot. He needs to take that wrist shot, even if he's not entirely open, just snap it. Go for it. he has to get the puck. All of those things. He's too invisible, Logan. And that's why he's got, 4 goals as a Penguin? 3 goals? Brian says, I love watching this team. They play for each other. I'll admit to you, I do too. I am enjoying this Pittsburgh Penguins team. I told you this last March, too, when the Penguins were beaten, battered, and injured to kingdom come. I really enjoyed last March, too, and watching that group. It's amazing what happens when you get a bunch of players who play the right way, isn't it? What do you think as a trade target would fit this honest, loyal, fast, hard Penguins team? We'll get to that here in just a few minutes. Hi, Dan. Nice to see you streaming. Hey, Dode. How are you? Let's see here. Chris pulled his message back. Whatever you message Chris, it's probably okay. Hey. IFDRJ. Here's Chris's question. How can the Pens get Kreider without giving up a first rounder? They can't. Would Athanasiou be a better, cheaper fit? Yeah, probably. Although, look, Detroit's going to want a first for him too, I think. They're going to want something legit back for him. And yes, membership-only chats would be great. Cool, Chris. I take it you're a PHN Plus member. Much appreciated. Hey, did we Mutation? How are you, brother? Did we free up any cap with all the injuries we had this year if we want to make some moves? Well, you and I didn't free up any cap space, but the Penguins did. I'm sorry, I'm such a jerk with that stuff. Yes, the formula, how much? I have no idea. I'd love to tell you, X or Y number of dollars, but it is so incomprehensible and impossible to calculate that I'm not going to try. I'm really not. Obviously, when the Penguins placed Jake Gensel on IR, they created for themselves the ability to exceed the salary cap by Jake Gensel's salary minus their salary cap space. So depending on the day they put Jake Gensel on IR, they probably have $5 million, $5.5 million. That's what they're going to have. And yes, all the other injuries with those people being on IR, Bukestad and Crosby and even Malkin, Dumoulin, even Letang's couple weeks, and Justin Schultz, they get a few pennies on the dollar for that too. I don't know how it's all calculated. It really is an almost incomprehensible formula. When the Penguins get somewhere near healthy, if they ever do, I'll be on cap friendly on day one, that's for sure. Dode says, who do you think will be on the Crosby line when he comes back? Well, the Jake Gensel debate died down, didn't it? I like Brian Rust with Malkin. I think Cahoon maybe stays with Malkin. I think you'll see Dominic Simone on that top line. And Jared McCann. I think you'll see McCann, Crosby, Simone. I do not think you'll see Patrick Hornquist. The chemistry, the click there is long gone. They've tried to resuscitate that numerous times over the past few seasons. DOA on that one. So I think you'll see Simone, McCann, Crosby going this way or that way. Also, do you think Pettersson should play with Letang and Johnson with Marino? I don't think Johnson-Letang works. Yeah, I know Jesse Marshall. I didn't get a chance to read Jesse's work. Kind of took the timber to the Johnson-Letang pairing, or so I heard. I do like Johnson Marino, and I have advocated for Pedersen Letang. I don't know why those pairings have not come to fruition. I think it's in part. And let's get somebody else's face on here besides me. I think in part, Marcus Pedersen's season has not inspired the same level of confidence that last season did. I don't think he has been particularly hard to play against. I don't think he has been effective in the puck battles. And I think at times he's been beat to the outside. I think that's his Achilles heel, is an ability to go wide on him. If you can avoid the stick, you can get past. And so playing him with Chris Letang, who's going to freelance, puts Pedersen in a very defensive role. And I think the coaches maybe have a little bit of a hesitation in putting Marcus Pedersen in a very stay-at-home, tight role like that. By the way, if you didn't see it on Sunday, we had I would call it on a scale of 1 to 10, probably a level 3, maybe level 4 scoop. A little bit of an update on Marcus Pedersen's contract negotiations. Yes, beginning on January 1, the sides could begin negotiating, and the Penguins did make that phone call and say, hey, let's talk. And Pedersen said, hey, great, let's talk. Let's get a deal done this time. I want to get a deal done. The Penguins said, good, we want to get a deal done. Let's do it. And that's essentially where it was on January 4th. Both sides very open, both sides very willing. There is not, however, a gentleman's agreement, as was suggested by, I think, some national reporters. I got that much. Yeah, Tuck is pronounced Tuck. What did I say? I don't think I said Alex Tuch. Did I? No, I'm pretty sure I said Alex Tuck. When did Jari change his angles so much? He struggles so badly. Oh, I don't necessarily see anything different in that regard. I'd have to go back and watch video from 3 years ago, I guess, but I don't see him changing his angles. I see him being a bit more athletic, and that comes, I think, from Mike Buckley, because Buckley made Matt Murray a bit more of an athletic goalie as well. Justin says, I like the aggression that Jari has displayed, as well as his willingness to handle the puck. Jari's stick handling has been a hallmark and a benefit to his game since day one. I don't know if you know this. When he, as a Ute, Ute hockey, he was a forward. That's probably why he's a bit normal too. He's not one of these, lonely or loner, surly goalies. Scrivener says, I need a Springsteen poster in the background. I don't know, man. Springsteen is good. He's not my guy. Nice video. Love you. Well, thanks, Glennis. I love you too. Fefe says, I was watching Malkin's 1,000th point video. He said the best Pens team he has ever played on is the 09 team, while this 20 team might be up for competition. This 20 team isn't the best team. It isn't the most talented team, I should say. But they are just crazy dedicated and willing to do whatever is necessary. Let's see here. I probably should get to the trade stuff. By the way, the last video we did, I don't know, the numbers were okay. I mean, it was only like 500 viewers on it. The average watch time on our last video was 29 minutes. Good Lord, people. Thank you. I laugh that there's someone who runs local radio is like, I don't know if people listen to Dan. My ratings were really good, by the way. 29 minutes I held an audience. I would challenge a lot of radio folks in this town to sit here and do what I do and maintain an audience for 29 minutes. Anywho. Okay, the future looks bright with Poulin and Addison. I would not trade those guys, says Mateo. I don't think the Penguins, absolutely, yeah. I think Addison really took a step forward in training camp. I saw a bit of a different guy. He still needs a few cheeseburgers. Don't get me wrong. He needs to add a bit of muscle to play in the professional game, and I think we'll find out next year exactly what. Actually, we might find out this year, depending on how his team in the WHL. I keep wanting to say Medicine Hat. He doesn't play for Medicine Hat. Not Lethbridge. Yeah, the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Depending on how they do, if they make the playoffs, if they have a long run, we won't see him. But I think if the Hurricanes bow out quickly, we'll see him get that professional cup of coffee like he did last season and like Jordy Bellerive got a couple seasons ago. Who do I think comes out of the lineup when Sid and Bukestad are back? Well, that's an easy question. The Penguins have a fourth line now that I don't think is very effective whatsoever. Sam Lafferty has sort of regressed to the mean. Sam will come out of the lineup. Good kid. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bagging on him anyway. I don't think he's been nearly as effective over the last month or so. Whatever other call-up they've got, be it Thomas DePauli, who played last night, Andrew Agazzino, Joseph Landisi, those guys will come out. Who is the best winger Sid has ever played with? Well, in terms of overall game, that's easy. It's Marian Hossa. That's far and away the best winger the Penguins have ever had for Sidney Crosby. Now, who's the best for Sid? Jake Gensel, hands down. And Gensel may someday surpass Marian Hossa, but I'll tell you, Hossa was really good. I mean, Hossa played 200 feet, wicked smart, back-checking, and just every facet of the game, Hossa was near perfect. He was Patrice Bergeron on the wing, was Marian Hossa. I mean, that good. Do I think the Penguins need to trade for depth defensemen, or are you fine with Ruido Ricola? Jay Poopsie, I think I'm firmly on record here. I think the Penguins need one veteran, steady defenseman. Let me see if I've got some photos here. Yeah, darn it. I don't have that story lined up. But yes, let me grab it here from Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Trevor Daley is not having a great year in Detroit. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. I could see a guy like that. I could see a guy like Ron Hainsey, who's languishing in Ottawa this season at 39 years old. One more run. I'd like to see the Penguins add a guy like that. I don't think Ruido Ricola is a formula for success for the next couple months. I mean, look, the Penguins keep proving me wrong. They should not be winning these games. They should not have 25 wins on the season. They should not be in second place in the Metro Division. Yet, here we are, right? So, if I tell you they need something, I guess they don't need anything because they continue to prove otherwise. However, I think they could breathe a little easier. I mean, last night, Tuesday night, Ricola only played 13 minutes. Ruido played 15 minutes. And it's these are sheltered minutes these guys are getting. That puts extra pressure on Chris Letang and the top pairing. That puts a bit more pressure on John Marino and Marcus Pettersson. Now, Marino, I think, is right now clicking on all cylinders. He's playing really well. How much longer can a rookie who's never played more than 30 games in a season continue this professional grind that he's on? Eventually, the rookie hits the wall, does he not? So I'd like to see the Penguins be able to dial Marino back rather than throwing him deeper into the fire. So absolutely. Let me pull up the watch list real quick here. Bear with me. In terms of defenseman rentals, in fact, I'm going to publish this here on the YouTube chat for you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pop this on the board for you. So you can see these are UFA 2B defensemen that I think, bear taking a look at. Andy Green in New Jersey, depending on what the Devils want to do. Andy's their captain. It's always tough to trade your captain. He's about a $5 million guy, too, so the Penguins would either eat up the Gensel salary or need to move money out. I still like TJ Brody up in Calgary, although, if they're going to keep, if they're going to stay right in the playoff hunt, they're not going to trade him unless they get something of real value in return. Penguins missed out on Marco Scandella, a 4th-round pick? You got to be kidding me. I would have done that move in a heartbeat. In fact, for Scandella, I probably would have given up a 3rd. Although, from what I hear, this draft is a bit deep. When you think they could have could get a Nathan Legare, maybe. But boy, a 4th-rounder for Scandella, I would have done that in a heartbeat. Brendan Dillon, San Jose Sharks. Trevor Daley. Borowiecki in Ottawa, I like. He's a guy that'll knock some teeth out. He's a guy that will mix it up in front of the net, which is exactly the kind of defenseman, and this is a left-sider, that could really balance a Chad Ruedel or a John Marino, right? These are the kind of guys that can take care of that stay-at-home defensive role, and let the Penguins' right side guys go for it. I don't think Chicago is going to give up Eric Gustafsson. They're going to try to rake somebody over the coals for Gustafsson because he makes 1.2. He had 60 points last year. Even if this year is down, they're going to try to really maximize their return, and of course they are. I don't think you're going to see the Penguins deal Rob Scuderi for Eric Gustafsson to Chicago. So those are some names to put out there on the defensive front. In terms of wingers, because I know you want to talk some trade stuff, let's do it. In terms of potential rental wingers, I look at Nemesnikov in Ottawa. A playmaker, a guy with speed, a guy with some finish. Essentially, he's a Dominic Simone Sr. He finishes a bit more often. I don't think he's going to cost very much. He's a guy that I would circle. There are a handful of others, too. And I'm going to pop this onto the chat board here in a moment, too, as soon as I find the articles. Let's see here. Where's the wingers? Rental wingers to watch. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to get back to the chat board in just a moment. Here we go. All right. Jason says, Dan, do you think Pajot can play wing? Maybe. I mean, look, all these guys are really flexible. Pajot is already a 20-goal scorer this season. I mean, what's he have, 19? Did he get 20 yet? Ottawa is going to, they're not going to take a 4th-rounder for him. They're probably going to want a 2nd-round pick, which the Penguins don't have. I don't believe they have a second-round pick this year. They never have a second-round pick. And here comes Athanasiou. I get it. Yeah, that's the name everyone's going to keep tossing. Again, Athanasiou is going to cost a lot. He's also having he's had a little bit of a surge here lately to get to 19 points, I think, in 30 some odd games. I was a fan before, but now that he's being challenged in Detroit and not necessarily responding in a big way, I wonder what he would do with this sort of Penguins team, you know? Would he come in and blend in with this 200-foot, full-speed, crash-bang, all-for-one, one-for-all sort of Penguins team? I don't know. Dark Sealer says, I wouldn't mind calling the Flyers and asking if they'd trade the struggling Shane Gostisbehere for a first and Sam Poulin. I would not give a first and Poulin for Ghost. Good Lord, no. Dylan is a left-hander, by the way. I see someone ask that. Shea Weber, Andre. Look, Montreal is still in the playoffs. And also, Andre, I don't know if you know if you know Shea Weber's contract goes for like 8 more years. He's got one of those crazy contracts like Zach Parise and Ryan Suter in Minnesota. Not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Montreal is stuck with it. They're getting some benefit now. I like Shea Weber. If he were on a 5-year deal and had 2 or 3 years left, I think you'd see teams lining up and falling over themselves. But the fact that he's going to have a contract until, he's my age. I'm older than 40. No one wants to touch that because then you get recapture penalties when he retires. You start almost hoping he gets injured and you stick him on IR for 5 years. Chris Pronger and all of that nonsense. Got to be honest here, says Jason. I thought Marino would have leveled off and come back to earth by now. He's a legit NHLer. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. He's getting better, not leveling off. All credit to him, but I don't think you want to exert too much pressure on him. Let's, try to leave well enough alone, right? Playing second pair minutes at this situation is task enough. I heard Eric Gustafsson might be on Rutherford's radar for a power play boost. I've not heard anyone credible say that. Y'all got to stay off those. Well, have a ball on the message boards. Go, what's that, 24/7 and NHL trade rumors, the Twitter account. Knock yourselves out with that stuff. And they all I have sources. Well, who are you? Like these no-name Twitter accounts. Have fun with them. Understand that they are somebody who is simply playing with you. They're toying with your emotions and your wants and your desires for something to be true. They have zero sources. Is Jake Gensel the future of Pittsburgh? Well, I don't know. I think UPMC does pretty well. Maybe, a few more medical jobs. I know Facebook is coming in bigger. Google is too. I'd say those companies are the future of Pittsburgh. I don't know if Jake Gensel employs enough people really to be the future of Pittsburgh. Although maybe if he gets rid of bike lanes, he could be mayor. Sorry, Bill. Let's see here. Does Rutherford sign Murray long-term for big money this summer? Not yet. I don't think Murray gets big money this summer. I think at best, come July 1st, when Murray is a restricted free agent, the Penguins, begin to negotiate with him. As it sits now, the first half of the season is burned. If Murray played the next 40 games, and 130 of them. There's still going to be question marks about him in July. So, no. The thought or the idea of him getting 7 or 8 million, gone. Washed away in the tide. The thought of him even getting 6 million is probably gone. We start talking about what is Matt Murray? And that question will be answered this summer, right? If Jari does take the net, let's say the Penguins have a great playoff run and Jari's the guy. Well, then Murray becomes a very attractive trade chip this summer, not at this trade deadline. To be clear on that. Is there any chance of Gensel being back for the start of the playoffs? There's a chance. I mean, 4 months minimum. December, January, February, March. That puts, if everything went swimmingly, he does come back for the start of the playoffs. He's got to get in shape. He's got to get his timing. He's got to get everything. I don't think at best you would see him until late April or May, and that's best case scenario. Dan, is Brandon Tanev the better version of Carl Hagelin? Dark Sealer, I think you know the answer to that question. Absolutely. He's younger. I don't know if Tanev is faster than Hagelin, but he's definitely younger, has a bit more. I'm surprised at this offensive ability Tanev has showed. We did the film review over the summer. I didn't see these hands from Tanev. I mean, he played with Adam Lowry, and they were really good for Winnipeg last year. By the way, you see, Winnipeg struggling when you get rid of players like Tanev. Players like Tanev add to success. It's just, it doesn't make any rhyme or reason, right? How a 30-point guy, 35-point guy can be so integral to a team's success. A 30-point fourth-line guy. But Tanev is, just from the tone, the energy that he sets and he brings to the Penguins. He is part of that rising tide that lifts all boats. If only somebody had said that Tanev was going to be the Carl Hagelin in the Penguins lineup last July. If only somebody had said that. By the way, what do you think of the old man glasses? These brow line glasses. What do you think? Do I pull them off, or should I scrap them? I go to iBuy Direct, EYEBUY, and I've been talking and looking at Nemesnikov. Sorry about that, Yins. Okay, but here, what do you think of these glasses? Can I pull them off, or should I scrap them? They were all like $20. Fortunately, my prescription is not thick. Do they really need another top six winger? With Crosby and Bukestad back, they have 12 NHL forwards, Dylan asks. Dylan, I think they do. Now, that top six forward's not going to be a 40-goal scorer. That top six winger is going to be is a bargain guy. We're going to be talking about Nemesnikov. I don't know if Mike Hoffman's going to be available. Florida's going to have to fall out before Hoffman is available, and I don't see Florida falling out. I wrote this story 2 weeks ago. Florida was bubbling on in or out. I think now they're in, and I don't see Hoffman being available. Connor Sherry? Jimmy Vesey in Buffalo. Everyone wants to talk about Tyler Toffoli, too. My gut feeling, nothing more than a gut feeling, is Toffoli in Pittsburgh would be more of a Tanner Pearson than anything else. Florida has so much talent, and a lot of it's going to be an unrestricted free agent like Dadnoff, like Hoffman. If they want to part with something, yeah, but I still think Nemesnikov is probably the guy. I would grab him in the short term. How much easier would these Penguins games be for the team? I mean, think about it. How much easier would it be, or how much less wear and tear if they converted more of these chances that they get? I mean, look, they're one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL already. That's because they so thoroughly overwhelm teams. They just punish them. If they had somebody who was maybe a little bit above average in terms of finish, less chances, less goals, they could really just suffocate teams and go forward. So that's what I kind of like about that. By the way, maybe I'll tell you at the end of the chat. What would it take to get Raquel? Yeah, he's a name I've had circled for a few years too, GT. I don't know. Look, hey, Rutherford and Bob Murray in Anaheim, they certainly have had their conversations, haven't they? Well, they had 3 deals in the last 18 months. Pettersson for Sprong, Goodbranson, and who am I missing? There was a third one, wasn't there? There was a third Rutherford-Anaheim deal. Darn it, I cannot think of who it was or who it might be. I thought there was 3. Anywho, if the right deal came up, would you move Murray this year? No. I mean, it would have to... Oh, boy. It's easy for me to say... It's too easy for me to say yes. How's that, JCW? It's too easy from a fan perspective to say to move Matt Murray. How would you feel if Jari bobbles in the playoffs and the guy you have to go to is Casey DeSmith instead of Matt Murray? When this team gets healthy, if it gets healthy, even without Jake Gensel, they are as good as anybody in the Eastern Conference. They can go toe-to-toe with Washington, with Boston, especially with Toronto. With the style the Penguins play, the Penguins are going to be a miserable matchup for Tampa Bay and Toronto. Absolutely miserable matchups for those teams because I don't think either Toronto, Tampa Bay are as hard to play against, are as gritty as the Penguins. And the Penguins can match their speed and to a maybe lesser extent match their offensive talent if healthy. Carter Rowney. Thank you, Ryan. You the man. Yep, look at that couple. Thank you as well, Dylan. Yeah. Wait, no, Carter Rowney was signed as a free agent. 3-year, $3 million deal. That wasn't a trade. Was it? No. Rowney won the Stanley Cup and then signed as a free agent. But that's another one, right? Another player that Pittsburgh to Anaheim. There was a trade. It might have been a minor trade, perhaps. Or maybe I'm just floating through space here making stuff up. Who is the Penguins' hardest matchup? Capitals, bar none. Because the Capitals still go for blood against the Penguins. The Capitals are big and tough and fast and more talented, and they really want it, right? The Penguins tortured them for so long. When the Red Sox finally got through the Yankees. They went on a run where they began beating the Yankees, right? And it was just because, once that dam breaks, there's a little bit of momentum. Hagelin for Perron. I guess, that was an Anaheim deal, right? Yeah. Is that the third one I'm thinking of? Probably. Let's just go with it. I'm going to say yes. To get off of this topic. I'll say what. Yeah, absolutely. That is a third. Maybe there was a fourth deal. What was I saying? I haven't a clue. Mateo says we need more grit to play teams like Tampa and the Caps. They've got size. No, the Penguins don't need more grit to play against those teams. The Penguins actually have more grit than Tampa Bay. They can go toe-to-toe with Washington, but Washington has more talent. Now that Verana, Klaatu, Nictu, Verana is flying. When Tom Wilson plays with his head on his shoulders, not in his colon, he is a fantastic player. You've got Backstrom and Ovechkin and Oshie. I don't think the Penguins can match that handful. Crosby, Malkin. That's where Jake Gensel becomes a huge loss, would be getting out of the Metro Division. I think the Penguins can beat the Islanders. I think the Penguins are now more Islanders than the Islanders. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Hey, don't forget to like and share this chat. Always very much appreciated. What time is it? 7:25. At about 7:40, I'm actually joining the Donut Bag podcast. Joey Bag of Donuts. You'll see it on Twitter. I just enjoy doing some podcasts with folks. If you're doing one, yeah, sure, hit me up. I'll probably come on and I'll probably help you out as long as it's not like a dunk tank. I would never go on Tucker Carlson's show if I disagreed with him, because it just becomes a dunk tank. I would never do that. But yeah, if you want to talk some pucks, I'm all about it. Okay, let's see here. Here's Leo eating pancakes. I don't have, can I get it? Let me see here if I can get, yeah, here it is. My new favorite picture. Here's me and the grandson at Christmas. He's being a little bit of a ham. And this just makes me laugh. I can hear Morgan Freeman's voice doing this. Because I'll walk down to the office in Market Square, or I'll walk downtown like I'm gonna stop working 100 hours a week. I'm actually gonna enjoy life a little bit. I'm gonna get my life together. But he would not get his life together. In fact, he got drunk and fought a raccoon. That seems like how I do things, and then I'm back to work the next day. Like, why was I thinking I needed to do that? Hey, if you have not yet, a bit more housekeeping. You can create the Pittsburgh Hockey Now app on your phone. For those of you with the iPhone, you'll want to go to pittsburghhockeynow.com, whatever browser you use, Safari, hit that share button, and then add to home screen. And voila. Okay? You get it? Got it? Good. Hey, here's one guy who is a real unsung hero. I can't pull him up. Darn it. Let me pull me up while I try to do it. I'm trying to get Brian Rust on the screen. It's not looking so good. I'm trying. Let's talk a little bit about this. Oh wait, that's Derek Brassard. I saw the 19. I thought that was Jared McCann. Bear with me here. Bukestad, Pedersen. Let's talk a little bit about these. Chris Letang, Tristan Jarry going to the All-Star game. Hey, catch you later, Jason W. Thank you so much for joining us. 120 says peace out as well. Hey, thanks y'all for joining us. Hey, we are going to move these chats while you're all checking out. We're going to move them to Facebook and the membership area here very soon. We're going to phase out Facebook just because it doesn't really pay so well, and it's a massive undertaking to do a YouTube chat versus a Facebook live chat. I can do a Facebook live chat with a selfie stick outside the arena and have a ball doing it. Anyway, Chris Letang, Tristan Jari going to the All-Star game. Boy, if only Chris Letang didn't suck, huh? Yeah, I stepped in a little bit of line of the fire for Letang. I'm not entirely sure if I was smart to do that. I guess there's always going to be a little bit of a war, right? Between me and that vociferous, angry, nothing can please them segment of the Penguins fan base. The guys who corkscrewed Jack Johnson into the ground before they ever watched a game and decided he sucked and just refused to listen to any explanations on what was going on. You know, gee, if only somebody last November had explained the style and all of that. Everyone's like, oh, well, I guess Jack Johnson's kind of good now. I don't know, maybe, kind of. There's always going to be a little bit of a war between those folks and me. Not because I like the Penguins. By and large, I don't care. The sun will come up tomorrow. This industry should beat the fandom out of you. I get annoyed when there's a couple guys in the press box. And I get annoyed when I have to sit beside them. And they start like, ooh, 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 ooh. I'm like, what? Go down with go buy some nachos and go watch the game. Buy yourself a ticket. And the one guy likes to talk to me, and he'll say things like, well, what do you think we need to do? I'm like, well, we need to write. We need to go to the locker room after the game and ask players questions. What are you talking about? Oh, I mean, what do we need to do on the ice? Like, we aren't on the ice. And media people who use we just drive me insane. Like that whole put them all on a barge and send them to a deserted island. Have been a Rust fan forever. He has always been a hard worker for the Penguins. Absolutely. I was trying to find the picture of Brian Rust. And the reason I is I want to tell you a bit about what an upstanding locker room presence he has become this year. I mean it. After every game, after every practice, he doesn't just have some time for a few questions, or he's a guy taking a leadership role. He is a guy who is affecting the change. And that's, I can't begin to describe the gargantuan change in Brian Rust over the last 2 years, in fact, and how impressed I am with him. Just how I respect the hell out of the guy. I just absolutely, when I get a chance to talk with him, I feel like I'm talking to a different guy this year especially than I have in years past. I mean, I used to call him the bottle rocket because he would get the puck in the defensive zone and there was no passing. There was no scoring even. He would just skate down the ice as fast as he could and rip a wrist shot, right? But what he is doing, the layers that he has added to his game. I wrote a couple months ago, and I've seen some others picking up on it, and not that they read me and picked up on it, but I like to see other I like to see smart folks come to the conclusion I did. How's that? Does that properly compliment the other folks without putting me in their category? I like to see smart folks. I like to see that I had the same conclusion. Or I like to see that happen. Rust is playing with the puck on the mid wall, down low. He's going to the slot. He's doing those little things After a corner battle, he's slipping away behind the crowd and getting open in the slot. He's going to the net. How many of his goals this year have been poked in from the crease? Handful or more? All of those little things that make his production consistent, replicable, and, this is not a hot streak. Well, it is a hot streak. You're not going to, he's not going to score 50 goals. But this does kind of put him in that conversation as a 30-goal scorer. I think next year in the Penguins' top 6, if he got to play 75 games, I think 30 goals are a real possibility. I just am that impressed with him. It's that extra heartbeat with the shot when you take it that Dominic Simone doesn't have yet. Maybe Simone gets it. Look, Simone at 24 is about as old as Brian Rust was when Rust first came to the Penguins. Think about that for a moment. That extra heartbeat with the puck on your stick to make a better shot. Not just rip it towards the net, but to pinpoint where you want and know why you want to put the puck in a specific location. Those are the things that Rust is doing so much better this year. Dominic Simone, let's just real quickly. Letang. Let's see here. Mutation says he's good and bad, too many small mistakes. Just have to expect the small fumbles from time to time. Yeah, look, the guys. Here's the funny thing, and I don't think This is one of those times when I wish everybody had to read me, almost like a classroom. There'll be a test on this later. The piece I wrote in, I don't know if it was late July or mid-August, comparing Chris Letang to the other top defensemen in the league in terms of turnovers, in terms of mistakes and gaffes and pluses and minuses, advanced analytics, etc. But primarily, the core of the discussion in the story was about turnovers. And Letang's turnover rate was far too high last year. He had a bad year in that regard last year. But he still was right in line with everybody else, with Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson and the guys in St. Louis who lead the charge, and Morgan Riley in Toronto, and all of these guys. They were all in the same pack in terms of number of minutes played, number of turnovers. In fact, Burns and Karlsson were veritable turnover machines. I think Burns had 100 turnovers last year. 109, 108. This is just off the top of my head, but and he won the Norris Trophy, did he? Oh, no. Giordano won the Norris. Burns was nominated for it. I think I've made that mistake before. Nevertheless, I know Penguins fans get uptight and verklempt about Chris Letang's mistakes, and, well, they should. Mike Sullivan said that's a conversation we're always having with him about simplifying his game. And they're going to need to always have that conversation with him throughout his career. But when you add that extra piece of the puzzle, that everybody else in Letang's skates, Letang's contemporaries, are making the exact same mistakes in the same quantity. Believe it or not. It's just that you and I don't see those defensemen night in, night out. And if we see them make a mistake, generally a home fan chalks it up to his player, her player, not the opponent making a mistake. Oh, well, Malkin had a turnover. Malkin had a takeaway. Not Brent Burns had a turnover. So always kind of keep that in mind when you talk about Chris Letang. There's going to be times you're like, what the hell? And last weekend was definitely that casual push to the slot to nobody that wound up in the back of his net. That was a what the hell moment. But every other top defenseman who plays 25 minutes a night, who produces that level of offense, makes those mistakes. And that's just, I'd love to tell you that, Letang was better or worse, but he's in that group, and they all do it. Michael Fu says, who do you think is the better player between Mitch Marner and Jake Gensel? Mitch Marner. I like Gensel a lot. Gensel is a finisher and a scoring winger. Marner has a few more levels. Marner can play center, and I think do so a lot better than Gensel. And I think if you put Marner beside Crosby like that, I think Marner would also have the 40. Wait, didn't Marner have 40 goals? Or yeah, I think Marner is a bit better of a player. Let's see here. I think that's actually about it for the night. I've got to hop on the Donut Bag podcast, and I've also got to have dinner. So I do appreciate y'all more than you know. I really appreciated the kind words that you had for me on Twitter today. I don't know what precipitated it, but one person complimented Pittsburgh Hockey Now and PHN Plus, and then another person did, and just thank you so much. I don't know if you know this. That is my full-time job now, is Pittsburgh Hockey Now. I do some other things only because we haven't broken through that barrier yet with the National Hockey League, and the Writers Association is involved, and I'm not getting into specifics because I don't want to upset anybody and make my job even more difficult. But we're still not on the road, and that's not because we choose not to spend the money. It's just part of the process that we are still going through. But Pittsburgh Hockey Now is producing such great content at such a high volume that it's now my primary job. But if your grandparents need some help with financial planning, I do a lot of pro bono work, or their Medicare and their health insurance, reach out to me. That's how I keep busy 40 hours a week. The other 60 or 80 hours I do the Pittsburgh Hockey Now. And someday I won't work 100 hours a week, right? Last call for questions. I see Kyle just put one in. Oh, this is Kyle, my trade guy, Kyle. Trade Matt Murray and Schultz. You mean Schultz, right? Right, Kyle? Or do the Penguins have a guy named Schultz? Trade Matt Murray and Schultz for Carey Price and Cale Fleury. Come on, Kyle. That's almost plausible on a video game. You can do better than that. Trade Matt Murray for Carey Price. And Charles Hudon. That would be a good trade. Matt Murray for Charles Hudon and Carey Price. Yes, that's... If I have to do your job for you, Kyle, well... We're just in sad shape, aren't we? Let's see here. Last question. All right, here it is. Final call. You got about 30 seconds. Feel free to mock the glasses. They actually look a little better on camera than I thought they would. I can't tell if I like them or not. I go back and forth. One day I'll wear them, the next day I just can't bring myself to it. Okay, so I am going to hop on to the podcast. I'll tweet that link out. Like and share this here video. Means the world to me. I see we've got 12 likes already. Spread it around. Your support and your participation just gobsmacks me. The fact that 3 years ago, I was a radio guy who came back to Pittsburgh. I was working, a few nights a week, trying to break into the Pittsburgh radio scene. I had 1,000 Twitter followers. I was doing some blogging just because I felt like I wanted to, I felt like Pittsburgh wasn't really getting a lot of hockey knowledge. And I started banging on the door, and here we are 3 years later. I'm sitting in my home with this kind of, the lights and the studio. and making money doing this, paying bills, just it's a bit ridiculous. And thank you. Thank you so much. And 2020 is going to be awesome. All right. Tweet at me at the Dan Kingerski. Check out PHN and PHN Plus. We will talk to you soon, kids. And until we do, hopefully next week, have fun.